Hello and welcome to the Life at a Glance podcast. I'm so happy that you are here. Let's get into some updates, some life updates, and then we'll get into today's topic, which I've been doing a lot of work around. So I am super excited to dive into that conversation. Life updates. So we sold Subi. Subi, and I don't know why we name our cars. Subi was Daniel's Subaru, and she had, I want to say, 289, 290,000. Yeah, we drive the wheels off of our cars. I should make that plural. And it was costing us more to have Subi than to just sell her. And the owner is like 100%, like, he is so excited. I am so excited. The kids are excited. Daniel's a little sad because he wanted it to he wanted Subi to get to 300,000. So that is like one of the big news. And like literally, he posted it and he sold it within a day. And so that is one update. The other update is the little house is ready. And I don't know why I'm having such a hard time now making that transition between the big house. We've got to move out of it into the little house. And it's like, it's that final push. So we've had another pod delivered. And the question now is, what do I put in the pod? And what do I need to continue to have my hands on and put in the barn? And so that's like the big dilemma. And the other question is, it's like, inside of the little house, it has a small quote unquote bedroom, a small closet's not finished yet, a living area, a place for us to eat, a kitchen area, and a bathroom, and a washer and dryer. I mean, literally, it is life boiled down to necessity. And so, but I don't know. I'm having a hard time making that transition. I guess it's because there have been things that I've needed here, I would say in the past 6 months, because the tree cut the house in half about 6 months ago. There are things that I've needed, and I have no idea where they are. I don't know if they're in the pod, the first pod, and I know like the personal things are up in the barn, two places in the barn. So I really have an organizational system to it. But I guess this week it got really real that we're taking the next step. And I'm really glad all of this has happened in phases. I think that I did not realize how overwhelmed and how overloaded my well being was when all of that happened. And now, that the little house that it took a while for that to really kind of get up and running. And then this week they have started the demo inside of the house. And because of that, like, everything is now pushed into a smaller area, and they're going to start demo downstairs next week. And it begins. And I'm very encouraged because the damage is the damage, but I can see it now. And I think like being able to see it helps you make the decision, okay, I can tackle it. When everything is kind of mangled and you don't know what's behind the scenes, then it feels a little bit, not a little bit, it feels overwhelming, which is a great segue into today's topic about being consistent. Consistency is one of the hardest things. I'm not going to just say that it's hard to be consistent in your business. It's hard to be consistent in your life. I talk about the different systems that I run, and one of the most consistent systems that we ever have run as a family is the kids' chore chart. Way back when we first started homeschooling 15 years ago, I thought, okay, I can do this. I've got a master's degree. I'm only going to bring two kids home. I can do this. Like, I read all summer. I had everything planned out. Boy, I was wrong. I was extremely overwhelmed because, coming into the kitchen, if the dishes weren't done, the dishes needed to be done. The kids at the time were so much smaller, and it was like 20 loads of laundry a week. And then, because they went through clothes like crazy, keeping just the house somewhat clean with vacuuming, walking the dogs, the birds. We had a bird at the time, and taking the trash out. Those were the core things that operated my house. Just like when you go to the grocery store, those are the staples that operate your house. Those were the core tasks. And I thought, well, I'll take all of those on. I will be building my business and I will homeschool the kids, something that is completely new, which imposter syndrome was through the roof because even with a master's degree, and Ander was in third grade, Maggie was in first grade. My idea was that, or the thoughts that were going through my head, the conversations go, well, I don't know all the cool teacher tricks to solve the problems. I really was not very good at math, but it's third grade math, right? And then what if we get done early? Am I going to mess the kids up? I mean, all of those questions were going through my head at the time. And I think nothing really changes until almost you drop down to your knees and you say, I just can't do this anymore. And I think had I continued to try to juggle everything, and no one was really asking me to do that, I was taking up those tasks to do to continue to run the house and juggle all of the things. So it's not Daniel was asking me to do that, kids were asking me to do that. That was something that I was doing. I was like, we made this decision to homeschool as a family, and I'm making this decision that together we're going to complete chores in this house. That system, I have to say, really shaped and molded our dynamic as a family and my kids as they grew up. And I know that sounds like it's a chore chart, lady. What are you talking about? The kids understand responsibility. The kids understand how to take care of themselves, how to do laundry, how to take out the trash, how to make sure that the dishes are clean, taking care of animals. They understand when somebody doesn't do their job, then the consequences of that, and they have felt that themselves. And I think that it fostered teamwork, and I know it fostered a better relationship. I was not resentful of all of the things that had to be done and take that out because let's face it, I mean, all of your emotions as a parent, it trickles down, whether it's to the kids or whether it's to the husband. And I didn't feel that resentment. More importantly, I didn't feel conflict with the kids because the way that we ran the chart was that I just cycled through the jobs every day. And the kids knew what their responsibility was that day. And I could have a conversation with them. Hey, Jack, have you taken the dogs out recently? And he'd be no. And then he would go take them out. It wouldn't be, oh, it's not my job. Oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, Ander should be doing that. Or Ander didn't do this. It really wasn't those conversations. And so it really, there is so much to be learned from that simple system. Family dynamics, like personal growth, and just a shared responsibility of getting work done. And what's interesting about that system in terms of being consistent was that I had a pain, I was down on my knees, and I found a solution. And in finding that solution, I got kind of sassy. And my sassiness was like, oh, this is great. This is amazing. Yeah, it's spring break. We don't need to do the chore chart. Oh, snap. And that's what I tell my members. It's like no matter how much you love something, it's human nature that you're going to stop doing it. But allow yourself some grace and get back up on that horse and start using the system again. It's just that easy. It literally is just that easy. And it only took a couple of times of me falling off the horse with that chore chart where I was like, yeah, we're doing it. Sun up, sun down, holidays, Christmas, vacation, spring break, like you name it, we are still doing the chore because we operate every single day. We live every single day. I never gave my kids allowance. We went down the path of doing allowance, and I'm like, this is crazy town. We never did stars and rewards and gifts and things for you know cleaning your room, putting your clothes on, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, and making sure you're out the door with shoes on. because I mean, that's just a part of being a human being and getting up and getting out of the house. Nobody was paying me to do all of those things. We would give allowance. I call it allowance for things outside of. And so I think it's an interesting conversation around consistency and thinking about being consistent in your business. That consistency with a chore chart really, if you think about, it's hard to be consistent in your business because your life is always interrupting and influencing those daily tasks and things that you're doing. This week, I did not anticipate, but I'm going to Virginia. So that decision now is impacting. Oh, I need to trigger a couple of systems earlier to prepare for that so that I'm not stressed and worried. Daniel, we have fires here, and he has been activated now to help with putting out the fires. And so, okay, let me make sure. Let me get my backup because I won't be here of my dog sitter. Can she be available if he can't get home? Right. And so, I think that we need to be more sensitive on the demands on our life, on our day to day, and build our business around that. People say it all the time. I see it all the time where people are talking about that. And these are people who either the back end and their operations is a crap show, or the back end, they have 50 people running it for them. It's very different if you are a solopreneur or you have a very small team. Um, in operating. And if you have a small team, I think that there's a little bit more accountability because that person, you feel like they're waiting on you to get things done. And so I wanted to talk about really three ways. Pick one, don't do them all, but three ways to help you in being consistent in your business. And one, I'm going to use funny names. So funny like chore chart, like we'll use funny like home names. And one is, I'm going to just say the microwave rule, right? If it takes less than 2 minutes to get the job done, that task done, whatever, like do it immediately. Don't put it off and say, oh, I can do that in just a second. Oh, I'll do it later today. That task that would only take you 2 minutes will weigh on you all day long. And it will interrupt the pattern of consistency and other things that you do, right? Um, and it gives you a quick win. You know that I'm all about a quick win. And we're going to get to the 10-minute thing here in just a minute. But if you can complete a task, start to finish, and check that off, and we're not going to talk about a to-do list, check that off, that is a dopamine hit. We chase dopamine. We purchase dopamine. And then it's a crash unless somebody helps you. Okay, what's my next step after that, right? We chase that when we shop. We chase that to like get things done. And those quick wins, they will add up. That dopamine will add up. So use that microwave rule, like really simple, right? Flexible routines. Um, Inside the membership, one of the things that I talk about are daily routines. I talk about daily routines because it gives you a structure for your day. And I have had different transitions from corporate America when I started to stay home with the kids. That first pregnancy, it's like, what do I do? Like, how do we have structure to our day? Like right now, I'm like, the demands are the baby and I'm reacting. So how can I go from a very structured corporate America, I'm out the door, this is what I do, to this point to come home? How can I put structure to that? And so that was one. And then fully staying, having a baby, I mean, that just rocks your whole world. And then transitioning to staying at home full time. And then the transition to homeschooling. And then the transition now to empty nesting. So I've made those transitions over time, and I understand that. And I understand, though, how a structure can help you. And typically, like, we use structure to your advantage. Most days you wake up and you're feeling fine, everything's good. But the entrepreneurial roller coaster, it's a wave of emotions. Like one day you're like, the ads dashboard is popping, it is amazing. And the next day you're barely hanging on and surviving. And so, what that structure will give you is a routine. And I've always talked about morning routine. There's 3 to 5 things that you do each and every day. That's almost the microwave rule, right? Those are the things that will help give you that dopamine hit and productivity pop. The other two parts of the daily routine is basically your three non negotiables that you're going to complete that day. And I do a caveat with the flexi. So, flexible routine is that daily three. You're the boss, you make the rules. And so, if you can't get the three done, two, and maybe some days just one task that you are able to get done. So, be flexible with those routines. The nighttime routine, to kind of wind down the day, is just really preparation for the next day. I call it getting my mind right. Right. So, microwave rule, be flexible with routine. Now, let's talk about helping us get out of the slump, helping us abandon the overwhelming to do list. And that is with a done list. What? A done list? She's never talked about a done list. The done list is, instead of thinking about and looking at all of the checks that you've done for the day, writing out the things that you have accomplished for the day. I do this a lot with my accountability coloring books. And this is based off of riding the Peloton and just chasing that blue dot and the consistency of the blue dot. When you ride, you get a blue dot that says that you have exercised or that you've participated that day. Coloring, and that accountability coloring book, is visually seeing when you've actually accomplished a task. That is the done list. And there was I think it was the 5 minute journal I did several years ago. Um, and you wrote down at night, part of my nighttime routine was writing down the things that I had accomplished that day and how I would improve for the following day. So that was the done list. So things like I sent the email, I did my launch plan, I whatever those things are. I think that it's that visual writing down, it's tactile, but it rewires your brain to look for proof of progress, not perfection. Because I know it's easy. Done is better than perfect. Well, you can say done is better than perfect all you want and still feel overwhelmed, right? Try writing down at the end of the day the things that you've accomplished. How does that make you feel? I know that when we procrastinate on tasks that need to be done, and it literally takes us just a couple of minutes on the other side, like we've won. We've won that day, right? In writing down your done list, it's proof that you are making progress. And the last thing I think that I will say when it comes to consistency is that the the more you can get yourself in a routine, the better off that you will be. The more that you can visually write things, track things, map things out, that's another it's another helpful tool to help you stay consistent. I was really nervous, if I'm being honest, in publishing the podcast because it's a weekly podcast. And I gave myself grace and I said Tuesday, Wednesday ish. And I've been pretty consistent on Tuesdays. Part of that is because I have been dabbling in YouTube. Part of it is because I send my emails out on Tuesday. Part of it is because I've done it enough. I have an SOP, step by step, of what it is that I do. And part of it is like I really enjoy it. I really enjoy having these conversations and sharing, I guess, the way that my brain works in managing, and something that I really have not, and I don't want to get emotional about it. I don't know why I'm getting a little emotional about it. Sharing my life experience. I call myself advanced maternal age. Um, there's just been a lot of living. I've done a lot of living. I don't know all of the answers. I don't know how to do everything right. But if one thing that I share helps you, I think that's a win. I think that's a win. And um, when you enjoy something that you do, it's easier to stay consistent. So before we wrap up, today's episode is all around being consistent and ways to help us to stay consistent. Consistency is really one of the biggest struggles that we have in our business. And we talked about it in three fun ways based on that dang chore chart. Is one is that microwave rule. Like, let's get some dopamine popping. If it takes 2 minutes, do it immediately. Don't let the weight of that task just drag around your neck like an albatross all day long, and you still haven't done it that night. How do I know? Advanced maternal age. I've done it myself. Flexible or flexi routines. Routines are structure. I talk about the 3 daily routines, from your morning routine, your daily 3, and your nightly routine. Be flexible. And I have always said be flexible. I found with my event, even that last sale that we had, we were still updating our routine and we were updating our SOPs. And I had done that for 17 years and we were still updating because it makes it better, right? And then finally, just kind of a flip on the to-do list is a done list. And I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to see to see it. We've got to download. You've got to get it from between your ears, touching it, writing it out, and then visually seeing it. I mean, it's just a different skill set than carrying all of that weight around with you, which ultimately could result in just the overwhelm, the anxiety, the fatigue, the resentment, and exhaustion that you feel. All right. So that's it for today's Life at a Glance podcast. I am excited that I have been consistent. And I will continue to try. Do not reference this episode if I skip a week. Do not. Until next week, take care. We'll talk soon.